Okay, so hi everybody. It's 2 o'clock now, and me and Konrad are ready to start the webinar. My name is Sofia, and I'm going to be your host today. And Konrad is going to be our presenter talking about culture. His topic of the day is diagnosing and changing organizational culture. A few things before we start. Please use the Q&A for all your questions that pop into your mind during the webinar. We will take a look at them in the end, and Konrad will be answering all your nice questions later on. The chat you can use for interacting with us during the whole presentation, so write down your ideas, thoughts, comments, and so on there so we can have a look. Konrad will also be asking you a question at some point, and the chat is where you can then respond to his question. I'm not going to take any more time, Konrad, of you. I know your presentation is time boxed, so please go ahead.
Okay, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Konrad. I'm going to say a few words about me, but in the beginning, why organization culture? Why this topic is so important? As Peter Drucker said already last century about knowledge worker, culture is strategy for breakfast. Means when we don't consider culture within our change process, everything what we do will disappear in the mid-long term. So the changes we're introducing without supporting this through cultural change are not sustainable. That's why I would like to share today with all of you my experiences and some models, some frameworks which we are using, which we found it very helpful on the way looking on the organization change. So few words also about me. Konrad Pogorzala, my name. I'm an Agile coach and trainer coming from the Agile perspective. So when someone has some questions around cultural change without agility, I will try to also to answer, but my concentration in the presentation will be how the cultural awareness why is important in the change process within the Agile transformations. So I'm close with Scrum Alliance. I have already a guided certification. Also authorized instructor from IC Agile. Working with Agile 42, we are a very international company, concentrating on trainings and coaching through all levels. Mostly, this is our set of our customers. And mostly we are also always with Agile transition concentrating in two parts. One is the leadership part and one is the more or less team part. And both tracks need to align together. That's why speaking about organization culture, we're gonna be speaking also about the role of leadership within the change process and how they can support what we are doing and how they can support their own organization on the change process. We are concentrating also not only on training, but concentration is on the coaching afterwards. What we mean with coaching after the training is when the training transfers some knowledge, coaching support people of adoption. What does it mean in our real life? Yes, this is this. We're having also with Scrum Alliance many guided certifications and members with guided certifications. Yes, I think small is enough about our company. Let's move on to the main topic. I will try to speak in the beginning about what is Agile change, what does it mean, so-called self-organizing team, and what which cultural elements are important there. Then I will introduce the model of competing value framework, and on the end I will share with you two examples. So let's start about culture and small Agile part of it. As you all know, especially right now in the crazy times of Corona, the world is changing around. Now we can even see much faster how it's changing. So we cannot even influence this change. This is just happening, and it's happening year by year, faster and faster. And the technology is mostly one of the main drivers for change. What we mean with technology, especially with the example of Corona times, everybody is forced to stay at home. So without technology, we will be not able to work. So that's why which technology we choose, which technology support we're gonna be using in order to be productive, to keep in touch with work colleagues, to produce some results together is the main important part of the current process. So the company who are able to be agile, to change, to adapt to the new technologies, to be flexible, to experiment, they are the only companies who are going to survive. So many companies who are just waiting until the whole crazy Corona times is over, maybe they will not survive at all. Also, not only seeing this with Corona, when there was a nice statistics of Fortune 500 companies in 1950s, 80% of these companies doesn't exist anymore. They were the biggest company in the world. They don't exist. Why? Mostly the reason is they were not able to adapt. So that's why the adoption and using in the nowadays the right technology is the main important part of the change. I will show you now a small video. Please watch it carefully, and let's try to use chat and have a small discussion about what we see in this video after watching this video. This is only 3 minutes video. In this video, you're gonna see how teams work in the 1950s and how the teams work nowadays. So I would like that you observe the behavior of the team, and then let's share what you observe after the video. Okay, I will start now.
But Holland comes in for a pit stop. Time to refuel and change tires. Newmore himself changes the tires. Only 4 crew members, including the driver, are allowed to work on the car. It's a tense time. Holland stays in his seat, anxious to get away. Let's watch. The tires are changed at last. A crewman polishes the windshield as Holland moves away just 67 seconds after he stopped.
Okay, so let's start to use the chat and share a few observations. What did you see in this video? And we'll start to comment. We'll see if it's gonna work. And I have it. not even 10 times faster. It was like from 67 seconds up to 2. So this was like a factor more than 20, 30, which they, lots of parallel work. Yes. Team adopted more efficient. Yes. Even when you see, oh, very good, very good, very good observations. Circumstances changes. Each task refined to perfections. With strong alignment and to a concrete goal, continuous improvement, better technology, faster tools. Yes, yes. Thank you for your statement. I think this is good enough. So even when the technology, as we observe, change and it's gonna be faster, there are more people that are using better tools. The atmosphere was much more supportive for a team development. In the 1950s, everybody had their own spot to work, own tools. There was no much collaboration. So team alignment to work, also very important. So this team at Ferrari, there was not even I think the record was even beaten recently. They are practices every day. They are showing and demonstrating what behavior of supporting each other. So there are even special positions looking on the people's working in front. Their job is, in case something gonna go wrong, they're gonna jump in and support the colleague who is in problems. So this is exactly the behavior, the culture they developed in order to be the world champions. And nowadays also more and more drivers who win a Grand Prix, the first sentence they are saying thank you, they're saying thank you to the entire team, because the entire team wins the race, not only one driver. So how we could describe this cultural change of the team? So, flow rescue organization. Okay, this. I will come back to the presentation. And already in the Agile Manifesto in 2001, was written one of the principles behind the manifesto is the best requirements architecture design are coming for self-organizing team. And here the question is, what is a self-organizing team? And what is the culture? What is the set of behaviors and habits and rituals, which is demonstrating how the team is self-organized? This is main part of the Agile transformation, to create this self-organizing team and model the right behaviors. And in order to do this, it's not only that we have to work with the team. One of the most important aspects is in the change process to concentrate on the role of leadership, concentrate on the capabilities of changing their perspective, changing their habits. So the leadership is focusing, designing, supporting the change, helping the team to facilitate the decision making, but not making decisions from them. So enabling them and showing them the way, what self-organization means, what a hyper-performing team means, and through the coaching, modeling the right behaviors. Okay. Now I would like to share with you a view. It's going to be a pyramid of results. It's how it is built. So basically we have one small light bulb. This represents a vision of idea, a goal which we like to reach, a company or organization, or even a project. Want to reach some outcome, some get closer to the vision. What is important to do to reach the vision? The important are the results. So the people who are working within the project or within the organization need to produce results to get closer to the vision. And the results are based on actions. not every single action people are doing produce the right results, which are getting closer. That's why this is a pyramid. We always have a set of actions which are needed, but not directly contribute to producing the right results. In some organization, it's very flat pyramid. In some organization, it's very thin pyramid. Depends on the organization, but there's always a little bit more action results. And the question is, what are the action people are doing based on? The action are based on beliefs. Here we are meaning beliefs, what's right, what's wrong. And the beliefs are based on experiences. So every single person in organization is collecting experiences through his life, through his work journey. And based on the experiences, people are modeling their own beliefs, what's right, what's wrong. And the beliefs are telling them what actions to take to produce the right results. And in a normal, traditional way, usually the managers are looking on actions and designing actions to the people. So other people comply to the actions. The challenge with this is not really scalable, because when we have a bigger organization or bigger project of 50 to 100 people, or even bigger, you are not able to tell 50 people what to do. You are building some kind of hierarchy. So every group of 10 have one manager, and then 10 managers have their own manager, and there is a cascade of actions and orders what to do. But in order to have sustainable change, that the people are self-organized, as I said before, and know by themselves what are the right actions to produce the right results, we need to look deeper. We need to look on experiences and belief, because this is exactly where culture sits. And we cannot tell people to have the right experience. We cannot tell people to be spontaneous, to be creative, and be creative right now, from now on. People are confused. What does it really mean? So that's why we need to formulate and form experiences which are showing what creative person means. What do we mean? What is spontaneous? What is openness? So this is exactly the shift of making sure that through the modeling of right experiences, people start to challenge their own beliefs, on actions, in order to produce the right results. I think someone was raising a hand, but if there is a question, let me know. Otherwise, I will continue. By mistake. Okay, all good. Need to go to the next slide. So, when we want to model experiences in order to challenge the beliefs of people, the leadership, but not only leadership, actually every single person in this organization or project have to learn to listen more, but listen more to the people in order to connect where they are. We need to understand which experiences do they have, and which beliefs they find it right or wrong. And we need to respect where they are in order to enable the change. So this is more soft, more long-term topics, or really supporting it. Also, as many of you know, we are designing an organic agility approach. And one of the first principles based on our experience is that we need to increase cultural awareness in order to create the coherence within the organization. So we need to make sure, and there are methods, that's why we speak about it, how to make the current culture visible. So that's why for making this explicit, we are able to have a discussion about, is this the right culture for our current aim, for our current vision, or we need to change something. So making this culture explicit, making the behavior, the habit explicit, we're gonna help us to have an understanding, is this the right thing what we are doing or not? Because the culture is there, is lived, and is changing every day through the interactions of many participants of the organization. So we cannot teach this, we cannot design culture, we cannot learn it in a way that we're gonna read an article and then we're like, okay, so I'm gonna behave like this. Unfortunately, maybe unfortunately, people are able to adapt, but the adaptation is not really fast. So we need to find out where we are, try to measure the culture, and try to influence, not design. So speaking about culture, is basically, there's a nice sentence. This is the how we do things around here. So how we react to emails, how we go to meetings, is 5 minutes late, is not late, 5 minutes after we start, this is okay, not, is depending on culture. In some, let's say, some cultures say 5 to 10 minutes after a meeting starts is still okay, and some culture not. So this is basically, culture is the set of behavior have been established and accepted by the organization without even writing it. This is the way how humans interact with each other. Automatically, that things just happen. So being aware about it, it's really important. So that's why when we understand now what is the culture and what is also the aim of having a self-organizing team, the two guys, Robert Quinn and Kim Cameron, designed a framework called Competing Value Framework. Of course, this is a model, as every model is wrong, but it's very useful to look on it, to have a structured conversation about the culture. How this framework is built. As the name said, is about competing values. So on the vertical axis, you have on the top, flexibility, discretion, and on the bottom, flexibility and control. And these values are competing with each other. So you drive for stability or flexibility, one or another one. And in the horizontal axis is internal focus, integration. And on the right side, external and differentiations. Also, they are competing with each other. And then in the 4 quadrants, the framework is showing us 4 different culture types. I will go fast through it in order to understand it. So the culture focusing on stability and internal focus is a cultural type called hierarchical culture. And then we distinguish here about 4 different characteristics, like orientation, leader type, value drivers, and theory of effectiveness. So in the hierarchical culture, the orientation means the characteristic describing the work being organized, how the work is organized. Is about controlling. So in the hierarchical culture controlling, we have like schedules, Gantt charts, clear responsibilities in order to control the flow of work. Leader type in this culture, the characteristic of leader is more monitoring, coordinator, and organizer. So this is the characteristic of leader. The value drivers are characteristics describing what motivates people to act within the organization. And here is efficiency, one of the main drivers, consistency, and be following the orders, following the agreed processes is really important here in this culture. And theory of effectiveness is characteristics describing the organization perception of success. And here success in this culture is based on control and efficiency. Okay, this is one of the types. Another culture type is so-called clan culture. It's still internal focus, but oriented in flexibility. This culture is more or less like an extended family. So how the work is being organized, the orientation is more collaborative. So it's about teams, about solving problems, not only individuals, but giving problems to entire team of experts and trusting that they're gonna solve this. So that's why also here, one of the tools is like a time box. Don't give them unlimited time, give them, can you solve this problem within the next 2 weeks? Leader types, so the practice which leader are supportive in this cultural type is more facilitator and team builder. And here the value driver is more communication, commitment, and human development is really important. This already. I will speed up a little bit. I'm looking on our time. The flexible culture orientation on external is a creative culture. He's more innovation visionary. He's a really hairy goals. Let's do something which nobody did it before. Going really brave through a new area when we never did it before. So the innovation and following a vision here is exactly what produces success. And the last quadrant is more on stability and still external focus is market culture. And market culture, how the work is being organized is about competing. So this is competing between teams even. So not only competing on the market, it's also internal competition. So I'll give you something, what I want to get back from you. So some teams can compete with, some departments compete with each other. And the leader type here is really like a competitor hard driver. And how the perception of success is customer focus, produce effectiveness, and aggressive competence. So winning market share, winning more than the others have. So this is to summarize, this is the four described culture. And in every organization, there is all four cultures present. So we'll move on and show you how a possible, at the moment still dummy, graph looks like. So this trapeze is showing us very dominant hierarchical culture. This is the very traditional, most of the traditional organizations who are calling us to start the agile transition are exactly in this culture, very hierarchical, and they want to become agile. Usually also, that's why we're using this model, because we started to model the different behaviors and habits on the team. And because leadership was not able to understand support, they ran completely hierarchical culture. And over time, what we created as a more collaborative adhocracy culture disappear. Because agile values in principles are on the top. So on the top means on the clan and adhocracy culture. This is what represent the values and principles. Of course, hierarchical culture are also good in the organization who produce same products. When there don't need to be innovation, they need to be more efficiency about producing the same product as cheap as possible. So hierarchical culture in this kind of organization is the perfect fit. So that's why we need to consider, we need to be aware about where are we right now, and asking us a question is this culture fits to this what we want to achieve? And the ideal agile culture is more or less a trapeze like this. So more dominant clan and autocracy culture, and less hierarchy and less competitiveness. But of course, we still need to have some structure, some processes as lean as possible, but we still don't, the hierarchy don't disappear completely. We still need to have some elements of it. So this is the ideal agile innovation company, I would say, with this view, with this set of behaviors. Then I would like to speak to you about how to design the cultural change process based on this framework. So first of all, step number one is reaching consensus on the current culture. So creating a graph, like I showed before on the dummy, I will show you a few examples in a few minutes, is where are we right now? Which culture is dominant within our organization? So this is the first step. When we have reached this first step, we know where we are and how our culture in the organization is. We go to which elements of the culture we like to change. So when, for example, we have too much hierarchy, we would like to have it less. We have too much clan, we are a very extended family, we want to reduce it. So what influence, what preferred culture we like to use? And determine what does it really mean, and also what does do not mean what we want to change, which elements we would like to keep. Then when we have already also the preferred culture, we design and write down together with the influencers in the company, also mostly leadership, but not only, the concrete story within their environment. Really concrete stories. What does it mean in your context, in your project, within your team, with real names of the people? And then strategic action agenda, how we could start going to our preferred future culture. Of course, we have to start with the small wins. What is when there are, like, let's say we would like to decrease hierarchy. And one of these ideas, we will like to eliminate useless rules and procedures which are somewhere documented. Small win, let's start with this. Then speaking about leadership implications, metrics, measurement, and milestones, when we want to do it, and the communication strategy. So there are the steps how to do it. And now I would like to share two examples, how we did it, and then we can have a small discussions based on what we just share. First example is a company called Zipgate. It's a telecommunication company located in Düsseldorf. They are basically born agile. We are working with this company so more or less like more than 10 years. Very agile company, still on the path of improvements. And what you see on these profiles, on the picture over here, there is a blue figure and the green one. So basically the blue figure was showing that this company, who is kind of born agile, went too much on too heavy on clan culture. How was this demonstrated? In the clan culture means extended family. Everything needs to be discussed within a group of people. This went so far that the CEO was presenting a vision for the new project. And the answer from the team was, yeah, we didn't discuss this vision before, so we are not accepting it. So we need to discuss it, everything together. And the company at the same time was not innovating enough, because everything was needed to be discussed and the consensus needed to be reached. So there was no brave decisions, no much innovation. And that's why with the arrows, we basically, together with the group of leaders, decided that we want to have less clan culture. And what we want to mostly do is increase advocacy culture. So increase risk taking, increase brave decisions, increase going with new products. And we basically design a process. They have a great canteen, and on Friday during the lunch, there was possibility to introduce few ideas. When there was a group of 3 to 5 people for the new idea who wanted to support, they was getting 2 weeks time to produce a first case study, so business case. When the business case after 2 weeks was successful, this team, this idea was going in the company backlog and was implemented within real effort of few sprints. And based on this really conscious decision, increasing advocacy, increasing risk-taking, within the last 2 years, there were 3 new product lines designed by the people through this process. So it was successful. We really managed to increase the autocracy in risk-taking. And the clan culture reduced because we started to mix the teams. So it was really, but as you see on the picture also over here, in every quadrant, we managed to describe exactly what do we want to increase or decrease, what do we want to change, and what does it mean and what this does not mean. So it's explicit, written down. And we are able to measure this on the organization side. So, of course, there are two main areas how to influence the culture. First is the storytelling. So this is what we already discussed briefly. When you want to change the culture, you need to describe with real story, with real contents, with real names of people in the organization. And then speak more about stories which are aligned with your strategy. So when someone is taking risk, this person need to get a feedback in front of course, of everybody. Like, listen, he took risk, really good. This is, we want to more. And when someone is following a procedure and we want to have it less of this behavior, we also gonna tell this person about, listen, this is good, we don't need it so much as you do it right now. So basically, more the desired behavior, less of the behavior we want to see. We don't want to see in the future. So storytelling. And second, also a very important element of influencing culture is ritualization. So there are rituals, like Scrum events, like reviews, retrospective, and there are open spaces. So they are, because they are going through standard process, there's a possibility to influence how the people behave with this, within these rituals, based on what we will like to have. If someone is, again, here, taking risk and having a brave decision was important. So in the rituals, exactly this behavior was modeled. And over the period of 2 years, we managed successfully to change the culture based on this model and also quantify this. And second example is more traditional company called Siemens. In one part of this was in automated systems, a group of people. Over here, also you see, we started to work with him in 2015. You see the red quadrant, and the blue one was 2 years after. Over here, we also use this visualization for something really important, because within 2 years, this part of the organization was really successful, and everybody wanted to copy what they are doing. So in order to copy, the people are coming to the space, to the working space of this group. Altogether, I think there was 7 teams working together on one product. And they basically, oh, you have a big board with all the stories. Oh, you have a stand-up. So they were writing down all the tools, and they copying the tools, and they were coming back after a few months like, yeah, I did it, what I saw here, and this is not working. And basically only after explaining them, this what we do is working within the cultural context we are working. So when you would like to have the same success as we have, please concentrate on changing your culture, changing your habits, changing the behaviors. And then we can speak about the tooling, because the tools are changing, the culture is gonna stay. So this is another great example how also to use this model to not only visualize what is happening within an organization, but also to demonstrate to other part of the organization which change process really happen, or what does it really mean. Also here for every quadrant, for the story 2015 and 2017, we have a set of real stories of behavior of the real people who have been part of it. Okay. So again, here, what Deming say, don't copy the tools because this is easy, copy the principles. Copy the principles of the people, gather the right behaviors, because principles don't tell the people exactly what to do, it's more tough. Copying the tools looks easy, but copying tools is not sustainable. And also the last point which I want to mention is the most difficult here, what we are working with this model since few years, was more difficult to create the first initial cultural view. And together with Dave Snowden and Cognitive Age, we created a tool called Organization Scan. Is a technology based on narrative. So we are basically giving the organization, the member of the organization, a tool which is called OrgScan, and through narrative, through self-evaluation, we are able to create really good profile of the current organization culture, which is the most important first step in order to discuss if this is the right culture or not. Okay, this was the last part, and let's move to the Q&A session. I see already a few questions over here in the chat.
We have got actually quite many questions, so maybe we should just start from the top.
Yes.
So I can read you the questions, Konrad, and then you can maybe provide the answer. The first one would be, what is the difference between influence and design? Talking about culture.
Okay. Basically, design is like a target state. This is at the moment target state, which is located in the future. This is design, what I mean with design. So we are describing a perfect target state, and then making a gap analysis how to get there. This is not working with the culture. So we are in the culture influence mean we are setting a direction, like with the arrows which I was showing you before. This is a Zipgate, and then we are trying real time to have a set of actions and immediately validating the action. So our plan, our gap analysis, we are doing constantly through a longer period of time. So we're trying to influence, trying to tell a story, but the story, telling a story doesn't mean you have to do something. We are telling, listen, Martin did yesterday something like this. This was not great. So this is influence. We are showing and role modeling and showing some examples to the people with the belief they will follow without orders. So this is the influence. So it's much more longer and it's not direct than the designing a target state.
Okie dokie. Then here's a question. We assessed current culture for several teams in our company, and we found totally different cultures in different teams. So no consistency throughout the whole system, which confused us in how to move on. Do you have any advice on this?
Interesting. So I don't know which model did you use. If you use competing value framework with every team in a different way, I'm not sure how did you access the culture. So will be great. So usually we are not going to accessing culture of every single team. We are going mostly on the organization over a group of teams to see, okay, this is what we will like to see. And then checking every team as a second step is like, how good are we with our perfect view of the organization? Accessing every single team will be challenging. Because maybe every single team will like to go somewhere else, but we need to have a coherent approach on the organization or on the entire project. So I will not suggest to do this kind of assessment, cultural assessment, with every single team separately. So usually when we're doing this kind of assessment, we are having a representative from every single team in one big group and creating this all together.
Okie dokie. Then here's a question talking about understanding decision-making patterns in an organization. Could you give a couple of examples of good practices, how to educate organization on how to share stories effectively, providing enough insights?
Okay. How to share effective stories. Of course, there is a pattern. Every story have to be short, have to be real. So there are a few patterns how to use storytelling. There is entire few hours how to design the right stories. And the most important is what I find out when we want to design a story. It was a good practice to draw it first. To have one piece of paper. I remember like a group of 16 people, I organized them in a group of 4. Everybody wanted to write a story. I was like, before you write the story, please draw it with pictograms and tell it based on the pictures and gather feedback from the rest and then improve it. So it's taking an effort was what is good. So first draw it, then also tell the story and improve the story over time. And usually what we are doing over here, what was good practice, is we had a set, like a backlog of stories for every quadrant. And we were regularly practicing the story and extending the story, writing new stories. And everybody was using the same stories, which were co-created by the group of people. And this was stronger because individual members of the organization hear the same story from different sources. And they're like, okay, when they are telling me that Robert did something great last week, and I'm hearing this today and tomorrow from a different person, maybe I will behave like Robert. And this is exactly what we want to have. So creating a backlog of stories, co-creating a backlog of stories, using some kind of drawing and practicing him with the group and encouraging them to leave the stories. So there is for sure in the beginning, they're not going to be perfect stories. I remember one time when the CEO was telling the story about one particular leadership member, and the member here is like, okay, but I perceive the story completely different. And he shared his view and he's like, oh, interesting. I was like, exactly this conversation we need to have. So there was no way to design perfect story from the beginning. So it's also a process.
Thank you. Then here's a question that goes like this. On the first example of the company culture change, making the company less clan-like, how did this impact the employees and that used to practice in every decision and now having to change that? Did they lose the motivation?
No, they didn't lose the motivation because the outcome of this was transparent to everybody and explained to everybody by the leadership team. and also members of every team were part of the group creating it. So this was not something hidden and it was like, listen, we're gonna reduce clan. This was transparent view. This picture was hanging in the floor with all the others with real descriptions, and they regularly look on it and they explain what does it mean the clan culture was reduced and how is better to be a little bit more risk taking. And with the success of 2 new product lines, they realized, oh, we are successful as an organization. So they basically supported this. And of course, we didn't get rid completely of the clan culture. We just reduced it a bit in order to increase the risk-taking and innovative products. Because the right mix was good. Without this model, they were not able to explain it. So they was having a feeling, something is wrong, but what? And this model helped them to articulate this, what they want to have, communicate to the people, explain why, what does it mean, and what does it not mean, what we want to change. And they accepted really well. Really well. They were like, good, no problem. Yeah, makes sense. So that's why this is important to don't say no. It's like, no, clan, no, because of this and this and this. And we will like to go this direction because this and this reason. This is really important to us.
Okay. Then here's an interesting question as well. What are the don'ts when changing the culture in a traditional banking organization?
Don'ts. I think one of the don'ts is having this kind of exercise with leadership on the offsite somewhere in the mountains, in a group of 5 people in the organization, and then no communication about it. So this is no go. And then starting to implement something without explanation why and what we want to reach with this. This is the worst thing that could happen. Second, also challenging one is not letting go. So as we see, maybe this is the little bit Agile examples. Over here at Siemens, the don'ts were we want to have a more clan and autocratic culture, but I'm still gonna tell people what to do. This is a no-go. So the no-go is not supporting the change with their own behavior. And this is also one of the most challenging parts, because the entire change starts with the person you see in the mirror. So when the leadership team wants to have a change, they need to change first, so others can follow, hopefully follow, through the influence. So this is the no-go, is wanting something that the people change and not being able to demonstrate what does it mean. Also very typical is, I'm hearing is, we want the teams take more responsibility. Okay, what do you mean with the responsibility? Which kind of behavior you will like to see, which are showing you that the responsibility is taken by the teams? And the follow-up question is, which kind of responsibility you are demonstrating, so the other can look and say, this is what he means with responsibility. So this is I think the one of the most important aspects to role model and being able to show what I mean with it.
Great. How do you get the data to draw the cultural status on the matrix? Is it a questionnaire or only a self-assessment by point 1 to 8, or how do you involve or ask?
So there are different ways. In the beginning, like years ago, we were experimenting with kind of a workshops, writing stories based on, there was a nice book about designing and changing culture. A group of influencers, we call them, because there's not only leadership, also team members. And basically everybody was creating one, then in pairs, 1, 2, 4, all. So everybody from one in the pairs, then in a group of 4, and in a bigger groups, was co-creating the profiles based on narrative, based on stories, and so on. We found this approach is working, was good, but actually you still could game it. And this was the challenging part. That's why we invest together with the Cognitive Edge to design the org scan, which is anonymous. That's why really recommendable, because actually this is the most difficult part from the question, is how to come to the data. And basically there is a tool, anonymous tool, everybody is entering own perceived decision and evaluating these decisions. And the more, every single point on this graphic is a one entry. When we have several hundreds entries, there is no way to game it. So we're gonna send also you a link to like a starter kit for ORSCAN. You can take a look on it in order to have a co-creation, created the first profile. Because actually this is the most important and most difficult part. Without someone who knows the framework, know the system, know the approach, it is difficult. This tool enables also new people to this framework have a creation of this profile. Yes.
Perfect. What is a good practice to assess the impact of the desire changed amongst the quadrants? How do you reduce the amount of anticipation and increase the amount of reality in this assessment?
Long question.
Do you want me to split it? What is the good practice to assess the impact of the desire changed among the quadrants?
Yeah, so there are impact, exactly. Got it. So how to measure if you are successful of this design or not? So there are also two ways. One way is, which is recommendable. This tool is also can run continuously. So we can basically have a cultural profile every month and then compare it, because this is based on facts, based on data from the organization. So you can have real time, as every month, validation if, is this what we wanted really changing the culture or not? And this is also very powerful because it's running automatically and you have every month a report, or even more often. Another way is to run this kind of workshops on a regular basis, but there is no way you can run this workshop every month, because usually we run this like once a year in order to check on the Siemens examples. We did it once a year, but the real one, we wanted to have a period of 2 years. So yes, after a while, you need to run the workshop, see what created again a profile, and see, okay, did the profile change or not? Did our influence, our coaching, our effort was worth doing it or not?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of answers the second part of the question as well, how to reduce the amount of anticipation and increase the amount of reality in the assessment.
It has to be all reality. Yes, this have to be. That's why also the real stories, real people is of course this model is a little bit theoretical, but the model need to be in the background. The real story, real people, real change need to be in first page.
Good. I think, unfortunately, we are running out of time. So we have all your questions here. We can have a look at them with Konrad after the session and see if we can answer some still in the follow-up email that you will be getting. The email will also include the link to the recording for this webinar, so you can have a look at it again and you can share it around and so on. Really, really happy that this topic got this much attention from you guys and all these questions. They are very, very nice. I hope Konrad could give you some answers. I hope it was an interesting webinar topic for you today. I also want to remind you that next week there is again a webinar coming up about how to start a Scrum team with our colleague Elrich. So please join also next week. We will send you some links and all the things that you could need from this session. Konrad, do you want to add something still to the participants?
Thanks a lot for your time and the questions, really valuable.
Super. Thank you also from my side, and if nothing else, have a great weekend and hope to see you next week.
Thank you. Oh. Some friends also there. I see. I just realized who is there in the attendees.
Nice.